And what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Bushwackers Breakdown. And today we are taking a look at episode 9, Doggone. So let's dive in. A brief synopsis. Chris and Steph, who are friends with Lee and Luca, they have to go to Georgia for the weekend for a wedding. And they hire a house sitter to basically watch the house and take care of their dog, Bailey. The next day, the house sitter's friend comes over and is horrified to see that the dog is eating cheese and feels it's animal abuse, and hatches a plot to try to liberate Bailey from the evil clutches of her owners. Due to unfortunate circumstances, the upstairs bathroom leaks, and the house sitter can't really focus too much on everything else except for the leak, so her friend offers to take the dog in, but doesn't return Bailey. When Chris and Steph get back, they are horrified to learn that their dog has been kidnapped, and they fire the house sitter, and when the police prove ineffective, they hire the Bushwackers, who perform this job pro bono. Lee and Luca decide to set up a trap, and they ask Brenda to lure her friend, who is desperate to escape town, with Bailey. And as they are driving, they are struck by a semi, and the house sitter at least, dies instantly. Bailey survives miraculously and jumps into Lee's arms, and they discover that the dog napper is now horribly disfigured and paralyzed. Before they can do anything, Lee and Luca get into an argument as to how reckless the plan was, with Lee surmising that Luca most likely stole that semi from some truck yard. As they walk away, proud of their accomplishments, they leave the dog napper to collapse in a pool of his own blood, where a mysterious van appears once again and takes the body away. So that's the synopsis for Doggone, but I just want to touch on a few things. Very, very briefly, the idea came from a segment of It Happened in Florida, which used to be a segment that they did, a game they used to play on the Woody and Wilcox show, until they stopped sometime last year. And there was a story about a dog napper, about a house sitter who basically absconded with someone's dog, and the homeowner had to call the police. So that pretty much laid the foundation for the story. What I decided to do at this point was, instead of doing just another, here's a client who needs the Bushwhackers' help, I decided to introduce my friends Chris and Steph. And by the way, Chris and Steph are real people in real life. You can follow Steph on her Instagram account. If I can find it, I'll put it below in the description. But the story is set in 2017, so at that time they had I want to say it was a Labrador or something. Well, it's a dog, but it's a black Labrador. I'm not entirely sure, but her name was Bailey, and she was such a sweet, sweet, sweet dog, and God rest her. She was just one of the sweetest dogs I've ever met. I don't know what else to say to it. So in a way, it was this episode was written as an homage to her. But I decided to introduce Chris and Steph into the mix because I wanted them to be recurring characters, and there'll be one more episode later on in season 1 that you'll see, where it's pretty much all them. But I want to introduce those guys because I do have a habit of taking people that I know in real life and turning them into characters. When I worked at United Healthcare back in 2015, I used to write these short stories all the time, and I would just use my coworkers as characters and just put them in ludicrous situations. But I decided to introduce those two into the mix because I wanted them to be recurring characters. But I also felt like they would have a much more deeper connection with Lee and Luca because they're friends. So so the fact that the stakes are much higher because these are personal friends, personal acquaintances of the Bushwhackers. The stakes are much higher because they have a much higher incentive to to not only find Bailey but to get her home safely. In terms of in terms of the continuing theme of the body snatchers, again, it's just building up to what you're going to see in season 2. Who's taking the bodies away? Well, later on in season 1, you kind of get a hint with the organization that's behind it. If you watch Preston the Robot and you all the way to the very end, you see that organization that's monitoring the Bushwackers activity. You can sort of see that they might be the guys behind this whole body snatching thing. What are they for? You'll just have to wait and see. In terms of the cover, I really have this fascination with fox hunting. I've never done it before. I don't plan on doing it, but I used to. But as a kid, I used to see all these paintings of fox hunting in doctors' offices, dentists' offices. There used to be this thing back in the 90s where you would get where in the mail you would get these catalogs, and they would have all these different items that you could order, and they would have this little tear-off slip at the bottom, and you would just put down the catalog, the item number, and then you just mail a check, and then they would mail it to you. Now, the reason I bring that up is because I remember seeing a catalog for checkbooks, and one of them, I mean, I swear to God, it was like they just wanted you to take it. They just wanted you to order it. It was this catalog of a fox hunt going on. So you would have like the guy in the red jacket and the hounds and everything, and they're out in the woods and all that stuff. So that pretty much just stuck with me, well into adulthood. So when I came up with the cover art, I was like, you know what? Let's just use fox hunting. In a way, it kind of is like hunting, because the Bushwhackers are hunting for a fox. Well, they're hunting for someone. They're hunting for the dog napper, not a fox. But well, you can sort of get where I'm going with this. So in terms of the artwork itself, I wanted to give it a more elegant feel, because the story itself, it kind of feels a bit gritty, because they're mainly in downtown, or uptown Charlotte, I should say, and also the suburbs too, because Chris and Steph do live out in the suburbs, out in Ballantyne. So I felt that this would give it this was a bit of an otherworldly kind of take on the matter. It's kind of like with the cover for Illegal Dumping, where even though the action on the cover itself doesn't correspond with the story, it's still a nice thing to have either way. So that was just something that I wanted to mention. You'll notice also this is the first episode where JJ is not present, and I felt like in this particular case I wanted to play around with the format. I didn't want to just have all three Bushwhackers do this thing and that was it. I wanted to have some interplay, kind of have different characters in the mix. And I felt like, JJ really wouldn't be doing much if he was in the episode in the first place. So really, we're just gonna keep it to the very core characters, and it was a fun exercise, really, because because it was a chance to kind of try something new, spread my wings, and just see, well, what else can I do with the Bushwhackers? I know I'll have Lee and Luca do something crazy that's par for the course for the Bushwhackers, but JJ won't be involved because he's off doing his own little thing. What's he doing? Well, who knows? He's in Asheville, hopefully trying to find the girl who turned him into a frog. But this episode in particular is the first on numerous occasions because JJ's not in it. You have you're starting to see characters who will become recurring over time, and the stakes are more personal because these are people who have a connection with the Bushwhackers before they became the Bushwhackers. So overall, that's my take on Doggone. But yeah, if you have any questions or if you want to offer your own take, just feel free to leave them in the comments below. And as always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, help the channel grow. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.